everyone, welcome back to the Shivering Mouse. I'm continuing my Trim Healthy Mama journey today, and we're going to talk about their podcasts number 11 and 12, along with chapter 6 of the book. Podcast number 11 was just some listener questions, so I didn't go ahead and write up a whole show on it, just because they tend to be a bunch of little random tidbits and tips and tricks. Number 12 was all about the importance of breakfast. This one, guys, is a huge personal failing for me. I am a terrible breakfast eater. I'm not hungry at all when I wake up. I was not surprised to find that this is another thing that Pearl and I have in common, and Serene and I do not. But I'm just terrible at breakfast. I have no appetite when I get home, when I get up. Even the idea of putting food into my body first thing in the morning, I'm like, oh, I'd rather pull teeth, right? So, oh, there goes Oliver. Oh, letting him on through. All right, so, just not a great breakfast person, and yet they talk about all of the reasons why it's important. Getting protein in at the beginning of the day helps balance your blood sugar right from the beginning. It helps break the fast so your metabolism start going. And by balancing your blood sugar, it balances your hormones and thus your emotions so that you're not a grumpy pants all day, because again, we talked about the up, down, up, down, up, down of sugars. And so, it helps calm you down and make you a more stable person, which personally is a big deal. I know my hormones drastically affect my mood. I can go from Cinderella to She-Hulk in a matter of just a couple of hours, depending on how much soy I'm consuming. So, or how much sleep I get, really. Sleep is a big deal for me. So, yeah, breakfast. So that's going to be my part of the struggle this next week. This is kind of don't sit on my shoulder, please. There we go. This is kind of my video diary as I go through this way of eating, and I'm going to work on breakfast. My husband is fantastic at breakfast. He'll get up early just to make breakfast, and then he eats breakfast and he feels great. I'm terrible at breakfast. If I have to choose between food and sleep, I'm almost always going to choose sleep. I've got to be really hungry to choose food over sleep. You'd never guess to look at me, but food is always second to sleep. And I didn't know that was where my priorities went until night shift. When I worked night shift, I would just be sick to my stomach until I got some sleep. Then after some sleep, I'm like, whoa, man, I'm hungry. It's like there's a pause button hit on my hungry meter that I cannot feel hungry until I've had some sleep. So, yeah, I don't know. Sleep always comes first, and that's pretty much where the struggle for my dogs pretty much where my struggle stems from for breakfast is if I have to choose 15 minutes more of sleep or 15 minutes to make and eat breakfast, even if it's just throwing eggs together or overnight oats, I'm always going to choose the sleep. And Serene and Pearl they weren't talking to me specifically because this is, podcast number 12. It's made years ago, but it was kind of a gentle spanking because I'm not great at breakfast. And, I grew up with a mom who got up early and made me breakfast every day, and she was fantastic about it. She made the best cheesy scrambled eggs for me in mornings when it was cold, gave me protein, got me started on my day. I don't know, man. I don't know when I went off the rails, but it must have been adulthood because she made sure all the way through high school, so at least age 17, that I was eating breakfast every day somewhere. My point is, I can't blame anyone else for this. I totally derailed myself from the breakfast train, and this is going to be one of the parts of Trim Healthy Mama that are, not as scientific as separating your carbs and fats, but it is scientific in terms of how it affects your body, and something that's going to be really hard for me to work on. When it comes to cooking meals this meal focuses on protein and fat, this one focuses on protein and carbs, I'm good at all that stuff. I'm great at that. But little things that come from changing daily habits, like getting up earlier to make breakfast, I like breakfast food. It's not that I don't like breakfast food. In fact, breakfast is usually the easiest meal to go out to eat and stay on plan because you can go places and get an omelet or something. But I'm just really bad at breakfast. I have no appetite first thing in the morning. And, I don't know, it's difficult for me. So, you guys, if anybody's watching, I know Mom's watching. Hi, Mom. Thanks for all the breakfast. I know she's watching at least because I have her eternal support no matter how ridiculous it is. Like, hey, I'm gonna, make a Walt Disney World podcast. Mom's like, well, cool. She likes Disney too. So she's part of the inspiration. She makes breakfast. And I stopped eating breakfast. Probably 17, 18 years old when I stopped eating breakfast. It's terrible. But, so yeah, that's part of my commitment on this episode of the Shivering Mouse podcast, Trim Healthy Mama edition, is trying to recommit myself to breakfast, and I'm not great at it. I'm not. So that's going to be a challenge for me. That's always kind of the challenge for me when it comes to changing the way I eat and trying to get fit, is not the big changes. It's the little daily habits that turn into a big deal. Those are more difficult for me. And so this is going to be that. But I got to try. And the good news is my husband, like I said, is great at breakfast. He makes scrambles with lots of veggies, and they're fantastic. They're actually on plan without him even knowing that they're on plan. And I'm just going to have to get up at the same time as him and follow his example. Yep. Learning from the hubs, learning from my mom. What do you know? The two people who know me best know what's good for me. Shocking. Right. There you go. Well, let's see. Chapter 6 of the book is amazing. If you are a person like me who is of a more spiritually minded mentality, it is all about places in the Bible that support Trim Healthy Mama. Now, they're not saying that the Bible is approving their plan. They're saying they built their plan around what is approved of in the Bible. So before you go, oh, this is a God-ordained diet. No, it's changing your lifestyle of eating. It's not like keto, where even keto practitioners and proponents will tell you it is designed just temporarily. It's not something to do long term because it can hurt your adrenal glands. It's something you do for 6 months to a year and then take a break for a while, and if you need more to lose more, you go back on. This is supposed to be how you eat forever. It's for your overall health for good. And so, they basically are talking about how a lot of what they were finding in their scientific research and their research from the bodybuilder community and stuff like that was actually lining up with what they were finding in the Bible. Like, there's a verse where they quote that says, "Refresh me with apples." So, that supports that you can have fruits, you can have carbs, but then it talks about the meat of the ram and butter and all kind of, milk and stuff like that. So that's kind of where this holistic, you're allowed to have everything, and it's the combinations that matter. Quiet to me. It's the combinations that matter. That's kind of where this all comes from. And so they built it around that, and then they just kind of shifted the building blocks around and moved things around to find what fit and what was a sustainable plan for life, which is fantastic for the rest of us who have been looking for something where they can be a healthy weight but not have to diet forever in perpetuity. We all know that girl who's dieting all the time, and she's insufferable to be around. So this is something you can do that you can still go out, you can still go to Christmas parties, and you just don't become that insufferable diet girl, which is fantastic for me, because that's, oh, hi buddy, because that's, kind of something that I hate in other people, so I don't want to be that girl. Let's see, they also use moderation to explain some of the conflicting views in diet books. You'll find at the same time that they're talking about how coconut is going to kill you and coffee is going to kill you, they're also talking about how eggs are going to kill you. Then next year, eggs actually help prevent cancer, but then the year after that, eggs cause cancer. And, all of that kind of stuff. So they talk about how the reason for that is because you're supposed to have everything with a certain amount of moderation. You're not supposed to hear, oh, eggs can be good to prevent cancer, so I'd better eat a heckin' ton of all the eggs. No, they did have a study a while ago that found that people who eat 1 egg per day were less likely to get cancer. But what happened when they released that is then everybody went out and started eating a cajillion eggs, and so now the news is eggs cause cancer. And so I think Serene and Pearl try to come at it from hey, no, the point is you're supposed to have some of this, but that doesn't mean that that's supposed to be all that you eat. If no matter what your diet is, if you only eat one thing, it's gonna kill you. I mean, humans need a lot of different things. Even when Chad and I are looking for dog food, we try to look for dog food that has tons of real food ingredients, chicken and brown rice and flaxseed and fish oil and, just all kinds of stuff in it, sweet potatoes, just to get their nutritional load as varied and healthy as possible. Why wouldn't you do the same thing for yourself? And so what they're saying is part of why so many diet experts, what they say tends to conflict with each other is because they are cutting out whole food groups, and then to compensate, they really, really overfill on the things that they are allowed to have, which results in too much of a focus on 1 or 2 foods, and you lose that nutritional balance. I'm sorry if I keep looking behind me. Whenever I'm on the couch and you see me here in my Shivering Mouse set for my Disney podcast, I have to sit with my behind like on the very edge of the seat, like on the last few inches of the seat, like back when I was in high school choir, and then because both dogs like to sit right behind me and lay down and just lean up against my back and snuggle, and it's cute and adorable, but my little booty gets numb after a while. It's been a long time since I was in choir, guys. I'm not 16 anymore, but yeah, so I keep looking over, it's because they're both on the couch here with me. I guess it's really more of a love seat. It's like a little couch. But yeah, so anytime you see me in the set here, I do have both dogs between me and the back of the couch here. Oh, you can actually see a little bit of his fur right there. But he's so cute. He lays with his back behind me and lays his little head on my lap. And I say little, he's half Newfoundland, so it's actually a pretty big head, but he's pretty cute. Anyway, just explaining why you see me wiggling around and moving. I kind of have to wake up my little behind every now and then because it starts to fall asleep. Okay, so an issue that came up personally this week, because this is kind of my fitness diary, if you will. I'm terrible at keeping a written diary, so this is my substitute just to kind of force myself to be accountable. And, we're under quarantine, so why not, right? Everybody else is doing stuffs. Why don't I do stuffs too? So my husband approached me yesterday asking what these videos were about. And when I told him, he says, so you're doing a podcast about someone else's podcast? I'm like, no. First of all, it's a video. I'm not sure that helps my case any, but that's what it is. And second of all, it's more of like a book study, like when people do a Bible study or when people review Moby Dick or Tale of Two Cities. For me, it's reviewing the Trim Healthy Mama book. However, the podcasts are much more recent. I have the original book. It's several years old. And so the podcasts add so much supplemental information to it that I just felt like I wasn't giving a complete picture, and I wasn't completing my own knowledge of what to do unless I also go through all of the podcasts. So this is me kind of going through the backlog of all of the information just to have as much at my fingertips and my disposal as possible. But also it's kind of my diet diary, really. And, that's why I've kind of kept it raw. Why I was on with a mask the other day. There goes my shovel. There goes Oliver. He's got to investigate the sound. Why I had no makeup on the other day. I do today. I got some gumption together, but why it's not super edited and cut together. It's literally just kind of a discussion between friends. I wanted to keep it kind of raw because it is kind of my wellness diary as I go through this journey. And that way, if this works and I get healthier and I lose the amount of weight I want to lose, I can look back at my first episodes in 2020 and be like, oh my gosh, look how many chins I had. Look how much better I look now. You'd never believe how much better I feel now. My skin is so much clearer now. And so this is just kind of me going through that and making a very deliberately casual, raw journal of myself. And this is kind of separate from the Shivering Mouse podcast, but of course you would support me in the same place. So if you did want to support these videos, it's still Shivering Mouse, patreon.com/Shivering Mouse, where you'll also find all of my podcasts. And we're going through the Chronicles of Narnia right now and stuff like that, which is why I have a Disney set in the background too, is most of my content is Disney parks and Disney stories related. This is kind of more for me. I found that I wasn't getting a ton of views anyway, so I may as well do a journal this way. So it's not really a podcast about somebody else's podcast. It's more like a book study and more like a wellness journal mixed in together in one, and it happens to be on my Disney set, because what better place is there to be? And it's finally warm enough up here for me to be on my Disney set, which is kind of in our front porch mudroom kind of area. So it gets a little chilly in the winter up here in the Upper Peninsula. When it's -40 outside, it's usually about 20 degrees in this room. So now that it's April, it is snowing outside right now, but at least it's like 65 or 70 in this room. It's much more tolerable. And it just kind of gives me my own private space to work on this kind of stuff with, I say private, but the puppies are pretty much everywhere. Anyway, that's kind of my breakdown of the purpose of this podcast. See, now we're talking about my podcast and it's stuck in my head. The purpose of this portion of my YouTube channel and what Chapter 6 and Podcast 11 and 12 were about this week. Thank you so much for tuning in and have a wonderful weekend.